First of all, Alan, Jack, amazing job on this film. I'm not just saying that. I enjoyed every second of this movie. Alan, you really were able to roll in comedy, suspense, action, drama, all into this film, and did it pretty seamlessly. So congratulations on that. But Alan, you co-wrote the film. What inspired you to kind of dive into the dark web, and what made you want to tackle this project?
Yeah, thanks, man. First of all, thank you, and I'm glad you enjoyed the film. It was definitely a labor of love. Making a film about a secret society is not an easy feat, but I think it was just the fact that this was something that was on the zeitgeist. You know, there was a lot of articles written about this, and a lot of hype around the game of Cicada 3301, and I felt like it would be good fuel for a fun movie. And you know, I felt like if we could tell this story in a fun way that's sort of broad and entertaining for everybody, that, you know, that I think it could be fun for people to learn about what this is.
And I did a little research into Cicada 3301. Jack, for those that don't know what that is, can you give a little summary of what that is?
Alan, I always thought I was playing the life of Alan. You know, I really thought I was playing Alan in the movie, because Alan's the genius behind all of this. I had to ask Alan for guidance throughout the whole thing. You know, it took me like 40 minutes to log into Zoom. So you're asking like the wrong guy, you know? Maybe leave that out. Maybe people really think I'm really savvy on the computer, so let's fool them, you know?
Yeah, you saw his fingertips in the close-ups. He's good on the keyboard. You kidding?
Now, Jack, I do want to talk about Connor's skill set, though, because he has a very unique skill set in the film. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, he goes into I'm not sure what the actual terminology is. I forget, but he sees things in the height, and things get heightened sense. I guess it's heightened sensory overload, and when he zones in, he kind of sees things, you know, multi-dimensionally and slow down, as opposed to, you know, however we see things. So kind of like a superhero aspect of him, you know. I don't know if it's an actual terminology. Is it, Alan?
Yeah, well, he's a bit savant in a way, but
I don't think people.
Yeah, we call it genius mode on
genius
set.
mode.
Yeah, so he goes in, he slips in his genius mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, his memory recall is kind of otherworldly and beyond photographic, and so you know, we felt like demonstrating that in a cinematic way, where you know, time sort of slows down, and be kind of a cool way to demonstrate how some of these people think, you know.
I actually love those choices, actually, Alan, because on paper that must be very hard to kind of describe what's going on. But I love the way that that's done in the film, and also the way that the sign language part is done in the film. I thought that stuff was brilliant. But during your research, for both of you, during your research into Cicada 3301, what did you discover that may be terrifying to a lot of people in the dark web that most Americans wouldn't even know about?
Jeez.
If you only knew. If you only knew, man, what I know now. There are some very interesting links between the events that are going on today, politically, and who's behind Cicada. And I didn't know any of that when we were shooting the film, but I've since learned, you know, kind of who's behind this and what their motives are, and it's been interesting. But there are parallels and links between Cicada and a lot of what's going on today. A lot of these extreme political movements and the gamization of politics, and they're in lockstep in a lot of ways. So you know, there are some really interesting correlations between the way that I chose to sort of depict this thing that didn't have a face at the time. You know, we couldn't put a name with the face. You know, and so we've got this great character, Philip Dubois, who is sort of a puppet for Cicada 3301, and there's actually a lot of truth to, I think, the way that played out. You know, knowing what I know now, but yeah,
it's crazy that your internet kind of cut out there when you first started saying that a little bit. But But Jack, this question is for you. Can you talk to me about working with Alan as a director and the collaboration process with him, and kind of some of the takeaways from that you took away from his directing style?
Yeah, absolutely. I lean on Alan a lot. I always lean on a director, honestly, because I have my own process, which is not so much backstory, not so much research. I mean, sometimes it's project to project, really. You know, some of those things really inform your acting. Other times it's really just for fun or for someone's personal process. But Alan, you know, he comes from an actor's background. You know, I don't know if it's primarily, but he's definitely an actor. And now he's, you know, directing film. So he understands the actor's approach, which is always helpful, I think, as opposed to sometimes the director is so visual that they just treat you sort of like furniture, you know, and you swivel here, swivel there, and which is fine, you know, just, you know, cash the check and we're all good, you know. But some projects are a lot funner than others, and this was fun. And he saw things his way, I saw things my way. He gave me some room, I gave him some room, and often we met something in the middle, and other times we clicked on things immediately. So it was, I don't think it was a hard time. I hope Alan doesn't think I was a hard time, you know. You
No,
know.
not at all. You know, I think one of the best things about Jack is his sort of his raw, almost primal nature. You know, his approach to life bleeds through to his characters in the best way. And you know, I mean, you've seen the performance. It's so candid and real, and there's nothing about it that feels rehearsed or staged or unnatural. And I think we're lucky to have caught a lot of that on screen. It could be a challenge to direct that, because what we want to do is, of course, align everything and make it nice and neat and go like, okay, now we need to connect the left hand from this shot to the right hand of that shot. And it's not fair that we do that to an artist and a performer. So there had to be some give and take, you know. But I think what we struck a really nice balance of getting, you know, sort of letting Jack do what he does best, which is pretty amazing to be a spectator of. And it worked, you know. I mean, it takes a little extra effort to cut that kind of stuff together, because you get something wildly different every take, but that's cool. And I'm glad we got to see something like that happen. It made the film a lot better.
You know what?
Alan, for you, how much fun was it to play Agent Carver? Because he is hilarious, and I love the interaction that he has with Connor's character every single time they're on screen together. How much of that is also on the page, and how much of that is just you two guys just riffing?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I gotta give it to Jack, actually, because that kind of character doesn't work unless you have a really solid anchor and counterpart. You know, I mean, the truth that he brought to the scene, like the van scene, I think is my favorite scene in the movie, just because it's so fun to see these two go head to head. And you know, there's this twinkle, this glimmer in Connor Black's eye throughout the entire scene. Like, is this guy for real? You know, he's smarter than him. You know, Connor's smarter than Agent Carver, but he lets this go on, you know, just long enough to get out of that situation. But I've worked with a lot of guys who, you know, either try too hard to improv that kind of, you know, their way through those kind of things, or don't know how to, you know, ground that or contrast that well. And it was a really great, it was just a really great pairing. And a lot of what we did, both Jack and I, you know, a little bit off the cuff, but he rolled with it really well. So it all worked. The first time we cut that van scene, it's like the first big comedy scene in the movie. It was like a 14-minute scene or something, because there was just too many great jokes. We're like, they're all funny, you know. So you know, that was just as much him as me. But we had a lot of fun with it and just kind of let loose.
Yeah. Now, Jack, one of the most fun interactions also is when we see Connor with Avi. Can you talk to me about working with Ron and kind of what he brought to the role that may have surprised you?
Yeah, man, it's so far back for me. It was great, you know, because I was telling I just had an interview earlier, and he asked a similar question. What's, you know, I like the motley crew of friends, the odd people you wouldn't necessarily mingle with, which I can relate to. I have a motley crew of friends myself, from different shades and different things they like. And what I liked about him is obviously a more put together person, you know, and it was just fun working with someone who's a lot more organized, and then Connor is kind of all over the place, but at the same time he has that element of genius mode. So seeing them together pair up, I hope people enjoy. I hope the odd couple thing works. I think it does. I had a good time working with him, and he's another guy who just rolls with whatever you give him, and it was fun. It was fun to practice.
I just love that that Connor always refers to him as his best friend, and I don't feel like
I don't reciprocal.
I love that. Alan, last question I have for you really is look, coming out from a directorial debut like this is a tall task, and you nail it on every step of the way. Can you talk to me about juggling the balance between comedy, action, drama, suspense, because it's all there and it's layered so perfectly?
Oh man, thank you. That means a lot, because I think it's tough for a lot of people to accept a sort of blended genre film like this. Everybody wants to box it in. When we go to sell this kind of thing, it's like, well, what is it? Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? Is it, we want to tick a box that makes sense. And I feel like our day-to-day life is blended in much the same way. I mean, we might have a scare this moment and a laugh the next. And so I like that it has that organic kind of feel, and I'm glad you appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it was just let's just let this story take us where it wants to go, and if it feels like it's leaning into like a more thrilling moment, embrace it, and we did. But I don't think these kind of movies work unless we find a way to appeal to everybody, and we have to have a sense of humor to do that. We can't take ourselves too seriously. Even if we're talking about this kind of subject matter, secret societies and institution versus individual type large themes, we have to be able to do it with a smile on our face, I think. So so that was important to me, and as long as we got that in, I think the rest of it works.
It absolutely does. Guys, great job on the film. I can't wait for everyone to see it. It's so much fun, and it's so intriguing too. Just going down the rabbit hole of Cicada 3301 is quite fascinating, and I feel like maybe I'm gonna get hacked now, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But, gentlemen, thank you guys so much.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.